The perfect wildlife camera could exist, but it doesn't because my list of demands for one go unheard, my cries echo in the forest, and only lone owls hear them in the nighttime. They do nothing about it, but I made a real list, and if this one goes unheard of, if my demands unanswered, blood will be shed. Red blood. Your blood.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So our previous quest for the perfect vlogging camera was basically answered by the Sony X3000 before I even started the channel. We got nowhere in that mission. But here we are on a new quest, and now I want a perfect wildlife camera. I have almost it. It's back there, Fuji XT4 100-400. It does most things well enough. But if I want to upgrade one day, which I do already, I have a list of demands, and shockingly to us, not one company meets all of these demands, and they're reasonable. So I made a list of all the current potential wildlife cameras that are on my radar, something I would switch to or already own. And then I made a list of features, pretty good features, normal, reasonable, not like, oh, 4K, 480p, none of them have it, it's not perfect. Reasonable shit. My first feature is not a demand, it's just a goal. Full frame. That would be nice. That was the goal originally with the vlogging camera, and we got it pretty much. Sony a7S III, best color science in the game. I just see it, I can tell when it's full frame, wow, look at that, amazing, and then micro four thirds, ooh, it's good. How much did you spend on that Olympus lens? 150, oh, wow. Still good results, lightweight for what it is, good for you. APS-C, comparable, but full frame is the goal for me. The only camera that doesn't meet our requirements are most of them. I did not start that sentence properly. So Canon C70, obviously that's Super 35. It might look as good as full frame. That's a cinema cam right there. So you might have something, you might not. A7 IV, you're full frame, but 4K 60p cropped. So you're basically a Fuji XT4 on steroids, but like they didn't work. They just made your dink stop. Fuji XT4, nothing Fuji has is full frame because they skipped up to medium format. Nobody wants that. That was a bad decision. It'll come back to haunt you. It already has. Now when it comes to animal eye detect in video, do we need this feature? Did it exist before the year 2022? No. But doesn't mean every documentary couldn't have benefited from it. So it would be nice to have. No, it's not necessary. In fact, I got a bunch of Sony footage that was zero eye detect and it was latching on pretty good. If you're in a zone, it's like Sony knows what to do in general. So it just would be nice to have. It's not needed, but I need it. Somehow animal eye detect has eluded us more than any feature in multiple brands that have it in some of their cameras and then remove it in others. Like the Canon, their best cameras, the R5C and C70, removed it. The Sony, the puzzling A7 IV has it, and the ZV-E10 has it. And then not in my flagship, you spent too much money. Money doesn't buy you anything. Stock market's crashing. Haven't you been paying attention? Money is useless now. Fuji doesn't do it. Yes, they do. They might. XH2s. Olympus, they do it, but not in 120 frames per second and up. That's a bitch. Panasonic pretends to do it. They have a box on the screen. Oh, look, it is tracking. Then you get the footage home. You're like, what the hell happened? Oh, it was so perfect in the scene. It didn't actually work. And it contrast detected your way to the hospital. Nikon does it. Thank you, Nikon. The Fuji XH2s is in here with a bunch of question marks, and I'm guessing what it will have and what it doesn't from the rumors. We'll see how accurate that list becomes in time, but amazing stabilization is the next feature, and you know, I'm not sure where to even lean with this because I was saying Fuji XT4 has the best I've seen so far, but I don't know that that's true anymore because it's the best I've seen when you're still. It's very stable and good. It's not waving a lot. It's no micro jitters. But when you move, it's just the ibis keep catching up and is jerky, and I've got it to where I've not noticed that anymore, but you really have to be careful. You like have to move so slowly. It can be done, so it is good, but man, I'm thinking lens only stabe might be better. Just stop confusing each other. But for the sake of the argument, because I don't know if that would work, let's just say good sync stabe, lens stabe, and IBIS. What do we have? Not every camera. I give Sony a yellow flag in this region. They're pretty good. It's not amazing, but pretty good for moving around. Better than Fuji moving, but harder to hold still, but decent. Enough for a yellow card. 4K 120p. That's honestly, last year I thought, like, who would ever have that? I was mad at people who wanted 4K 60p. I was like, who cares? And now it's like 4K 120p somehow became the new normal. Just like celebrating Halloween year round for people. Covering, yeah. Oh, what's happening? I hate you all. So all of a sudden, the perfect Canon R6 has lost a point. No longer green columns all the way down. And nobody so far has met everything except Nikon. Look at them. Will they stay in the lead? I doubt it. When it comes to HD 240 frames. Now we want the nice looking 4K 120p slow motion, super sharp, and then something more fun and magical. So Canon doesn't give us HD 240p. Sony does, but not in the A7 IV, which has animal eye detect. That's a cripple. The Fuji does it, thank you, and autofocuses. Look at us. Sony also autofocuses. Fuji XH2 will probably autofocus. Olympus gives it to us without autofocus. Panasonic autofocus doesn't count, obviously. Z9 does not have it. First flaw of the Z9. You lost. Custom modes in video. Necessary. Completely necessary. Just flipping between 4K 120p, HD 240, maybe a couple other photo modes, saving things, easy switches back and forth. Thank you so much. Who's doing it? Canon R6? No. R5? Yep. R5C? I don't know. This is just me sucking at my job. I don't know if R5C or C70 does it in video modes. So one of you tell me down below, because they have a new cinema menu. Can you save custom modes in that for video? R5C and C70? You post it. You post that now. I'm hoping the XH2 is changing all that. I'm giving you a green light right now. Not that you deserve one. Olympus? Yes. Panasonic? Yes. Nikon? Yes. So really it's only potentially Canon not doing it, and definitely not in the R6. For the love of God, why? I don't know. You just can't save them. That hurts. That's the only reason I don't own that camera right now. It's just that. And they make it the hardest to switch between 4K 120p, no, 4K 60p and HD 120 is like a menu dive, turn on high frame rates, switch into HD. So difficult. A nice telephoto zoom. I think that's important. Not these primes that are $14,000. That's a prime and weird. You're stuck at one focal length. It's not right. A nice zoom. Most companies have it. That Canon has the 100 to 500. Potentially good. It's very lightweight. I held one in the field. I met a photographer. She had an R5 and that, and I was like, can I hold this? She held the Sony and she was like, oh, she fell down a cliff. It was so heavy for her. Her bones cracked. But she survived it, I think. Sony has the 200 to 600 fantastic lens. Now that I'm used to holding it, yes, I got it. You put the tripod thing down, you hold it by that, and then your fingers are switching, they're doing stuff. It's actually better. So thank you all for telling me. It was better, and that lens is on my radar if I see one deal. I am pouncing hard. Fuji has the 100 to 400 and the 70 to 300. Very good lenses. Olympus, see, this is where I don't know what I can give you. How can I give you? I give you a yellow star. We're doing stars. You have potentially the best lens ever made in the 150 to 400. I could get by with the weight, I imagine. It's just so expensive, more than any full frame glass. And you're getting micro four thirds results. That hurts. And then your 100 to 400 has no stabe. Just no. And then your 70 to 300, that's the ugliest. So tiny though, cute, but not good. And the prime is a prime. Come on now. Come out with a 100 to 400 Mark II. with lens stabe. Something different. Someone said that's a Sigma replica. It's not even like an Olympus official lens. Confirmed? I think so. And Panasonic GH6, they're 100 to 400. So stiff with the zoom. The manual focus is off. If that wasn't the case, we'd be done. Even though you don't have full frame or autofocus or anything desirable. And here's where Nikon Z9 losing some points because they're slow on their lens roadmap. Where's the 200 to 600? Because the 100 to 400 is not enough. I've seen it on the radar. Will it ever come? If it doesn't, look how many points Nikon is just dropping. They are dropping points. Oh, I haven't even got to the categories yet where they dropped. Lightweight. It would be nice. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, especially with my full frame wildlife goals. So I doubt it's gonna happen, but the Canon made it light. 100 to 500, that's light. 27.1, that was the secret. The Sony, I don't know if I can give them points for being light, because that lens is like the biggest thing. Whenever I go out with that lens, people were saying like, holy shit, what is that? That's the biggest lens I've ever seen. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's too big. But you get used to it. But if you're riding around on a scooter, which you probably are, having it on your backpack clip, impossible with the Sony. Whereas the Fuji, I can do that. Ride around, what is that? Stop. Sony, it's like, that's in the bag if I'm on a scooter or I'm walking around. Now here's where things fall apart. Affordable. We're not really doing that, are we? I say the Canon R6 is affordable because the camera's somewhat cheap, but then that 100 to 500, that's how they get you. The A7 IV is pretty affordable, similar price, but you're not full frame now, you're paying for APS-C housing. XT4, decent. All the others, like, okay, we got enough until you reach the Z9 again. Then it's like, what the hell did you do? All right, 3 more categories and then we sum it all up here. Focus throw adjustments. This, I'm noticing, is a problem. Only, don't quote me on this, but only Panasonic, Nikon, and Canon let you do this. Just let me adjust how far to turn the wheel because it's very different across all brands. Fuji, 15 turns and eventually you're focusing on something. But for minor movements, if you have just like a little bird and he's like a squirrel or something, he's just going far, like you can track things so nicely. Whereas the Sony, it's like one small move, you're 10 feet. But if something's flying at you, you could actually manually focus track it. I've done it. Canon I thought was actually really good. They're 800mm prime, and I think they let you adjust it. They do. So Sony and Fuji have to work on that, please. And Olympus. Olympus was one of the worst for sensitivity and unreliability. That was the 100 to 400. It was jumping all around with manual focus. I was like, that's unusable. Whereas the 70 to 300 was decent. I was expecting as good or better. I didn't get it. Easy to edit files. Really only the Canon, and so far as I know, I haven't heard people complaining about the Z9. I assume the Fuji XH2 might have some struggles there. I don't know, but I'm not giving you a green star. So just Canon F you. Our last category, doesn't overheat. That should be a given, but since the Canon R5's invention, we realized overheating could be real. And now, with the Fuji XH2 and their fan, mandatory fan in the back there that you have to screw on with 7 different screwdriver heads. The first one's a star, the other's a flat head. You dicks. So I don't know, hopefully the XH2 or 2S is doable. It's just these like long format 6K recordings. Okay, you put the fan on for that one. You're interviewing people in 6K for some reason. So when you look at this chart as a whole, you're seeing so many holes in it. Where's all the green? Why isn't it just green everywhere? Canon R6, amazing full frame with animal eye detected video, great state, no 4K 120p or HD 240p. Oh man, no custom modes in video, you can't use the thing. hard to edit files in the C-Log 3, 10-bit, and it overheats. Canon R5, you fix some of those problems, but still no super slow-mo. And affordable? No, not really. Hard to edit files, overheats. R5C, you create more problems than you fixed. You lose the animal eye detect in video now, your stabilization likely worse because there's no IBIS. You still don't have the ultra slow-mo. I think you get slower slow-mo, don't quote me on it. 180 frames maybe, something? Custom modes in video, I don't know. You've already answered it, thank you. Affordable? That's even more money now. Oh, man, but it doesn't overheat. Good. The C70, you've lost your full frame. You do not have animal eye detect, no stave whatsoever. But the gloriful image, gloriful indeed. You lose a bunch of shit. That's not even an option, it shouldn't be on my list. But it could be amazing. Looking, the Sony A1 flagship. No animal eye detect in video. Stabilization just mediocre, but doable. You have most things I want. You're not really lightweight with that lens, or affordable at all. The A7 IV fixes the A1's lacking of animal eye detect, but then destroys everything else. You don't get any of the good specs. It's affordable now, but you get nothing for your money. I realize I left out a pretty devastating category in its ability to switch between photos and video. Good. Where my A7S III kind of lacks because it's a 12 megapixel. That hurts. So, I don't know, man. Some of them do it pretty good, but not a lot of them. Okay, I added that category and rated them on the fly. R6 will fail at it because there's no custom modes in video. R5 should be decent. R5C as well, they have the switch. C70 doesn't even take pictures, I'm pretty sure. Sony's decent, except the A7S III, which has no megapixels. Can't crop a damn thing, although I do on my Instagram. Go subscribe. Fuji XT4, separate. The custom buttons don't change, so switching it makes no sense. XH2, hopefully they fix it. Olympus probably does it. Panasonic, you're not going to take a picture with a Panasonic, to be real. That's video-centric, and I've heard Jordan just said their photos are like noisiest shadows he's ever seen in his life. He couldn't even hear the light in the shadow. He listened. Nikon Z9, probably amazing. So my current A7S III, decent, but bad at photos. XT4, very good, but has some weaknesses. Lots of green squares missing there. XH2 looks to improve on a lot of things, but we don't really know yet. Olympus, I don't know, you're still getting micro four thirds results for medium format money. That hurts. Panasonic is Panasonic, the nerd of the whole group. They're the least popular Panasonic company. Take that to the bank. Nikon Z9, potential. If a firmware update gives us HD 240p, you get that 200 to 600. You somehow shave off the battery grip in a Nikon Z9 Mark II, and you chop off $3,000. That's the perfect camera. So basically that's what happens. No company will do it. No company will do what I need. Same with vlogging. I could do this for vlogging and we'd have the same results. Something's missing. Not really. Sony X3000 had it all. So what do you think? Right now, what is the best? I'm thinking Nikon Z9 with the potential of the 200 to 600 that doesn't exist yet. This video's too long. I'm gonna leave. We learned stuff. Fuji XH2, what will it do? Something better than micro losers can do. That's for sure. Thank you for buying a Camera Conspiracies t-shirt. I didn't say that weird. You heard wrong. I'm gonna go. Just hit the subscribe button to learn better English from me.